Good afternoon, Ms. Gracia. Good afternoon, classmates and audience. Today we will be discussing plagiarism. If we all know the definition of plagiarism, but if somebody doesn't know it, I'm still gonna give it. Plagiarism is commonly known as copying somebody else's work and presenting them as your own. Being that said, plagiarism has been exponentially increasing for the last few years, or let's say the past decade, because of different things. Technological advancement has paved the way to plagiarism for students. It offers countless possibilities of copying, just as it offers countless and limitless information. So that adding up is what can happen, is what can make plagiarism happen. One would think that such an ungallant way of cheating, resulting usually in an unbelievable writing extravaganza and over-the-top ideas from students at university level, cannot be passed. Like, teachers will know that the student is plagiarizing, and in effect that happens. And that's why a big problem and one of the most sensible types of cheating in the past few years. Well, being that said, there are different types of plagiarism, and a teacher who has a student for days or let's say weeks can determine when a student is plagiarizing, because he does not represent what he is saying. A student has his personality, he has his style, he has his own type of writing, and when he plagiarizes, then he uses somebody else's writing, and then the teacher knows that he or she is plagiarizing. He comes into those four types of plagiarism that are self-plagiarism, are mosaic plagiarism, direct plagiarism, and the other one is, last but not least, accidental plagiarism. Self-plagiarism is known as using your own work as if it was new when you had done it a year or some time before. Most teachers accept that since it's your own work, and you, like, theoretically you cannot rob from yourself, but in that case you can. If a teacher does not accept you presenting work that is from past years, then you don't do it. Then accidental plagiarism is when you don't know you're plagiarizing. When you don't know you're plagiarizing, then most teachers are lenient to forgiving you, but that doesn't mean you're not guilty. Accidental plagiarism happens when you don't know that you're copying, or maybe you're not aware of plagiarism. That plagiarism at this level is widely unacceptable, just for the sole reason that a teacher won't believe you that you accidentally plagiarize something. Then there's mosaic plagiarism, where you plagiarize a small phrase, a small fragment, maybe a small idea of something somebody said before, and then you use it as your own. You know that you don't have to use big words to describe something, or long sentences to describe something. Sometimes the smallest words or the smallest sentence make the whole difference in the world. And then stealing that, stealing that doesn't mean that if it's long or small doesn't mean that it's good. Then it's direct plagiarism. The direct plagiarism is literally copying from somebody else's work, deliberately copying from somebody else's work, and that is the most unacceptable type of plagiarism. And for that means that you are word for word writing what somebody else did. So those are the four types, and then there are different techniques to avoid plagiarism. And my colleagues in this video will explain some of those techniques, so that in the future, people like students who plagiarize a lot stop doing it.
The first technique that will be discussed today to avoid plagiarism is paraphrasing. Paraphrasing is to say the same thing in a different way with your own words. Paraphrasing is one of the most widely used techniques to avoid plagiarism, especially by students. Something that is very important to state is that every time that you paraphrase a text, you have to cite the source from where you got the information. There are many ways to paraphrase a text, which can make your work easier whenever writing a research paper or any kind of academic text. First technique: when something is written as a class, change it to a phrase. Example: after he played soccer, Sergio took a shower. Note that this is written as a class. Now we are going to change it to a phrase. After playing soccer, Sergio took a shower. Second technique: Turn quoted speech into indirect speech. Example, Marcela said, I am excited to go to class today. I am excited to go to class today is a quote that Marcela said, right? So now change it to indirect speech. Marcela said she was excited to go to class today. Third technique, change sentences or phrases from active voice to passive voice or the other way around. Example, this is in active voice. An employee will guide you to the lobby. Now change it to passive voice. You will be guided to the lobby by an employee. Fourth technique, change words for the synonyms. Example, Anna drove her car to college today. Replacing some words for the synonyms, Anna drove her vehicle to university today. Know that we changed two words for the synonyms, right? We changed car for vehicle and college for university. Two words that mean the same. And finally, change word forms. Example, Jose is a decent piano player. Now, in a different word form, Jose plays the piano decently. These are some techniques that can help you paraphrase texts without plagiarizing other people's work. I hope that they are helpful for you to avoid plagiarism, and always remember to cite resources.
Even though people commonly think plagiarism is just copying another's work or taking someone else's idea, there certainly are many other actions that can be considered as plagiarism. For example, whenever you forget to place quotation marks to a used quotation, you are committing plagiarism. Turning someone else's work as yours is also considered plagiarism, as well as copying someone's words and or ideas without giving credit. Also, copying the words from a source ending with the majority of your work conform of someone else's idea is plagiarism. And last but not least, copying the structure of a sentence even though you have changed the words of that sentence. As someone mentioned, it is important to cite. The easiest way to avoid plagiarism is citing sources. This acknowledges that some material was borrowed, giving the audience or the reader the opportunity to find the used source. There are some other tips and techniques that will help you to avoid plagiarism. First of all, you need to plan your paper. When you are free to choose the topic of the one you are going to write, be sure you choose a familiar or a common topic. This way, it'll be easier to work on your paper with no need to take someone else's ideas just because you don't understand the topic. Whenever that topic is given by your teacher, be sure that you do research before you write the paper. It is a big error to write your paper before you do that research. If you do your research before you write your paper, you'll make sure that you don't write something that someone else had already written off. Also, if you do that research before you write your paper, you'll make sure and you will assure that you understand the topic and that you will avoid plagiarism at all. Another technique to avoid plagiarism is to take notes. When you take thorough notes, you make sure that you understand the topic of the one you're talking of. The notes should be very strong, and you should make notes of every source you are searching. Also, make sure that you cite all sources. Be sure to cite all the sources you use to write your paper. Also, you must ask your teacher or the people of whom you are going writing for which citation format they desire. For example, there exists the APA citation format and the MLA citation format. If you want to have a better paper, you should ask also for a second opinion. Maybe when you write the paper, you think that you don't plagiarize. For example, when you are committing accidental plagiarism. If you ask for a second opinion, someone else will make sure that you have not committed plagiarism. Be sure that whenever you write a paper, you don't commit plagiarism, because plagiarism is considered a illegal thing, and as in college and any other places, plagiarism is something no one is accepting.